Hi, I'm Lizzie Li, and I'm from China. And here's my story. So actually last December, 5 days before Christmas, my grandma passed away. And my grandma was one of the closest person in my life. She was the one that raised me. So she was like my mother. Basically, I feel like I lost everything. The whole world lost everything. Even at that situation, God was able to do miracle in my heart, and He comforted me. It was a shock to all my family members, and they were in great grief. At that time, I feel that it's probably a good time for me to share the gospel with them while they were in deep sorrow. But I wasn't sure whether that was God's plan, because that was during the COVID time, and there's so many restrictions for the travel, and especially I'm also a Canadian citizen, so I have to apply for Chinese visa, and the Chinese government put a ban on the foreigners visa. So basically they will not allow people to travel into China for personal reasons. And I wasn't sure whether I was able to get a visa. I also already registered for a course which I paid for the tuition already. I wasn't sure whether I can get the tuition refund or anything. So I told God that if this is His plan for me to go back home to share the gospel, then just let my visa approved. Obviously, God helped me out all this, and you can tell the visa officers work overtime for me. I got my visa within 4 days, which is super fast, even when it was in normal time. Like, this is really, really fast. So I know that was God's plan. And also I got my tuition fully refunded because of that, because they heard my story. So I was able to go home. But then when everything seems to go smoothly, that difficulty starts to come. The Chinese government, they started to require mandatory quarantine from 2 weeks to 3 weeks, and the 2 weeks has to be in hotel. And also the Canadian government at that time was talking about not allowing people to come back to Canada. So there's just so many things going on. And then you also heard like there were so many flights flew to China, and then the whole flight, all the passengers got COVID, things like that. And I was very nervous. Also, the Chinese government require 2 types of specific COVID tests before I can get on the plane. So then I flew to Vancouver on my own, got my test done, and the night before I leave Vancouver hotel, I got a message from my friends, of Christian friends who I haven't contacted for 7 years, and she had no idea what I was going through. So she sent me a message that was one of her daily devotion, and basically that message is Bible verses. Genesis chapter 24 verses 27. It says, "I being in the way the Lord led me." When I got that message, I feel so encouraged, because I feel that God will guide me all the way through, and then He will open doors for me. The doors will open wide, and I will have difficulties, but do not faint. That's a confirmation from God that this is from Him, and this trip is for Him. After my quarantine in China, and I started to spend more time with my family back home, and I was able to share the gospel with basically everyone. My father's side of family, my mother's side of family, and even some relatives that I haven't met in my whole life before. And every time before I share, I pray in my heart. I say, "God, what do you want me to say to this person?" And I can tell that God always opened the door. I took my sister to the church, basically, and then she decided to get baptized. So she was baptized in April this year. And also my other family members, I can tell they kind of believe that there was a God, and they think that my God is real. But I know there still needs a lot of prayer. 1 week before I leave China, my return flight actually got canceled all of a sudden. I was frustrated because when I return, I have to rebook the quarantine hotel, and the process of rebooking the quarantine hotel is not fun, because you have to wait a long time on the phone call, and I was overseas, and there's time differences. God opened door for us, and I was able to get a better deal, actually. And because of the flight delay, I was able to share my testimony with the local church there, because the church, they heard my story and they want me to really share that in front of their church. So if it weren't for the delay, I wouldn't be able to share the testimony, and I know that delay was also God's plan. So when I returned to Canada, and God gave me a good job, and then I also successfully passed my exam, and so God has been helping me all the way. And also I can see God is doing miracles still, like step by step, I guess, in my family's members' heart. The purpose of our life really is to share the gospel and to be God's servant, because everything happened for a purpose. I think God put you in a specific situation is for a purpose. Just like me, when my grandma passed away, I wasn't working basically, and I had lots of stress, but still I was able to share the gospel and help others. If you put God's kingdom first, you do things for Him first, He will pay you back in a way that you just really so good that you can't even expect.